Welcome to the Greater Than Business podcast, where it's all about creating an amazingly successful business without sacrificing your quality of life, because life should be greater than business. And now, here is your host, Courtney Bedore.
This is episode 30 of the Greater Than Business podcast, and today we are going to be taking a look at exactly what a week looks like in my business. So it's going to be all about how I plan and what my days look like and why I do what I do and how I do it and all of that fun stuff. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right into it and basically give you a glimpse of what a typical week looks like in my business. So, as I mentioned last week, and if you have not yet listened to last week's episode, I highly recommend hopping back, taking a peek at that. I will link to it in the show notes. So you can take a peek back at that and listen to everything that I talked about regarding planning for success and how that basically works into my week-to-week and day-to-day business life. So what I do is I have set days each week in my business. So they're all themed. So on Mondays, that is my recording day. And what that means for Mondays is that is obviously the day that I record. But it doesn't mean that I'm just recording podcast episodes. It means I'm recording anything and everything. It's basically just a day that's open for recording. So obviously the number one thing that I usually record are podcasts, but because I operate with the whole making sure I do 3 things each day to move my business forward, that means that I would record 3 podcast episodes in a day. And obviously, that would get me really, really batched and really far ahead if I did that every single week. And then obviously, I wouldn't have any other time to record anything else in my business. So I make sure that I leave it very vague for my recording day. And it doesn't necessarily mean I have to just record podcasts. So I could record modules for courses, or I could record videos, or I could record other people's podcasts, or I could record anything that I need to record, basically. So that is a day when I know that I want my house to be quiet, I want my voice to be good, or at least somewhat functioning. And that is the time where I'm going to sit down and focus on recording. Now, I always make sure that each day when I'm doing a theme day like this, that I complete 3 tasks to push my business forward. That is a non-negotiable for me. And the reason that I set it up this way is because if you are taking action on 3 things in a day, then your business is always going to be moving forward and you're always going to be making that progress that you want to be making. That is a huge thing for me. So I always make sure that I'm doing at least 3 things. Now, obviously, if I get in a role and I end up doing 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 12, then good on me. But I understand that at the bare minimum, I need to be doing 3 things. And the reason that I find this so productive is because I could have a list of 19 episodes that I want to record. And obviously, I know that I'm not going to be able to record those in one day. But if I do get on a roll, then at least I always have this list that's set up and ready to go. So I can basically record as many episodes as I want, or I can record as few as I need to. And I always will have this list that basically kind of keeps me focused on what I need to be doing and doesn't control every aspect of my life. Like, I don't have to sit down and stress about making sure that I know which episodes I'm going to record. I'm constantly always planning and working on things, and I have a running list of episodes I want to record and modules I need to record and things like that. So I'm always constantly adding to the to-do list. But I know that eventually all of this stuff is going to get done. It's just a matter of getting it done. So I don't find this overwhelming. I don't find that I'm constantly dealing with a to-do list that's never going to end, because spoiler, your to-do list is never going to end. It's always going to add, you're always going to be adding stuff to it. And at least this way, I know that no matter how long and how big and how crazy my to-do list gets, I know that each week I'm going to take 3 things off of that list. And as a whole, as a business as a whole, each day I'm going to take 3 things off that big giant list. So it brings me calm knowing that 3 things are going to get done every day. And also knowing that I have that big, huge list to fall back on means that I'm never going to be questioning what I'm doing each day. So I wake up with that motivation of knowing exactly what 3 things I'm going to work on because of the themed days. And it just allows me to actually get things done and wake up feeling motivated, which is a huge thing when you are working from home. If you wake up and you don't feel motivated, guess what? You're not going to do anything that day. It's not going to be a productive, good day. So that is why I always make sure I get 3 things done. I always know what list I'm going to be tackling from because all of my days are themed. So I know that on recording day, I get my recording list or lists and I sit down and I record 3 things from that list. And usually I do it in the correct order. So I'm not going to all of a sudden record episode 400 when I haven't recorded episode 40. But I definitely always know what I'm going to be working on, and it brings me a sense of calm. And for me in my business, that is what I need. So that's what I do on Mondays. Mondays is the recording day. On Tuesdays, I do all of my social media planning. So I not only write out social media posts, I design the graphics for social media posts, I schedule social media posts throughout the week. I also will put it on my calendar if there's social media things that I want to do at specific times on specific dates. And basically, Tuesdays are all about social media. So anything and everything social media, I'm doing it on a Tuesday. And obviously for this, with my rule of 3, I make sure that I am at least writing 3 big posts that I can share throughout the week. And then I will make sure that I repurpose some of the content from those posts into smaller posts. So my rule of 3 for social media day is a little bit different, but my non-negotiable thing that I do for social media day is make sure that I have 3 big posts done. And then obviously everything else, because there's obviously more than 3 things that you need to do for your social media in a week. The rest of it, I will make sure that I get done as well. But my main big 3 is 3 big posts. So that brings us to Wednesday, which is my writing day. And what I do on my writing day is I will write funnel emails, or I will write a blog post, or I will write out, maybe if I have a really big social media post that I want to do, I will write it on writing day. But basically, writing for me is something that I need to be in a good space for. I'm not a fan of writing. I have been told that when I do write, I write well, but I don't see it. I still go back to my grade 10 English teacher telling me that I am horrendous at writing and my run-on sentences are horrible and all of that fun stuff. So I'm not 100% confident in writing. That is why I host a podcast and I don't have a weekly blog. But I do know and understand that some people like to consume their content and their knowledge that they're looking for. And I understand that they want to consume that through writing or reading rather. And I get it, but it's not something that makes me feel 100% comfortable. So while I do for the podcast, I will obviously transcribe all the episodes, so they are available in text format. It's still something that I'm not 100% good at with writing yet. I can't even speak half the time. So definitely putting it onto paper is hard for me because I write how I speak, and how I speak isn't necessarily the most grammatically correct way of talking. And at this point, you either love it or you hate it. And I appreciate you if you love it. I'm working on it, but it's just a thing. But anyways, before I get down a tangent about how I hate writing and how I can't write, and that brings me to not being able to speak anymore because I get all flustered, I am going to move on to Thursdays. So Thursdays, I deal with everything website and technical. So anything that needs to be updated on my website, I will make sure I do it on Thursdays. Anything that needs to be uploaded onto my website, such as show notes or transcripts for podcast episodes, or any little new opt-ins or whatever it is that I want to put on my website, that is something that I deal with on Thursdays. And it's kind of transformed into the tech day as well, because sometimes there's things I want to do that are tech related that aren't necessarily on my website. Like if I'm building out a funnel in Infusionsoft, then that would be something I do on Thursdays. So it kind of became like tech day, but yet it's still kind of the website day, because most of the tasks that I do that day are all website related. So for me, setting up my days like this allows me to know what my focus is going into the day, allows me to know what list of tasks I want to pull from for my 3 things I want to get done. And it just allows me to have some clarity every day coming into my office. I don't have to feel like I'm on a blank slate and I don't know what I'm doing, because there's always something to be doing. And sometimes I realize that I always have a to-do list, and I always know that I should just look at the to-do list and grab 3 things off of it and get it done on a day-to-day basis. But sometimes I find that I'll get stuck in a rut and I won't necessarily grab from these different lists unless I have these theme days. So that is how this kind of started. And it just allows me to run a better business, and it allows me to always be focusing on something new each week. And knowing that I'm going to get 3 tasks done each day from each of these 5 different categories. And from there, that means I'm going to get 15 different tasks done each week. And that's huge. And by splitting my days up this way, it makes sure that I don't neglect one category. Like, I could sit down and get in a groove and want to record. But then I realized that the next week, that means all I'm going to be doing is uploading and doing website stuff. And sometimes that can be draining. It's not fun sometimes to build out a back end of a website. So it's something where I would rather do it one day a week, and then know that if it's not something that I really am too fond of, that I only have to do it for this day, and then I don't have to touch it again for another week. So that's one of the reasons why I have a writing day, because writing is definitely not something that I want to spend an entire week doing. So where was I? I am on Friday now. So Friday is our finance day. So Friday, I make sure that not only am I doing all of my business finances, but also my personal finances. So because Fridays are a day where I also don't really work too much, or I try not to work too much on Fridays, finance day is easy to get done. So there's 3 things usually I need to do on finance day, and that is make sure that I got all the money coming in that I thought was coming. Make sure that it's been assigned correctly to the proper categories. As you know, I do use Profit First. And if you want more details on how I use Profit First, I will just let me check my notes here. I will tell you exactly which episode that is. It is episode 15 and episode 14, so I will link those down for you in the show notes. Episode 14, I cover how I manage money in my life and my business. And then episode 15, I do a deep dive into how I use Profit First and why I use it and why I love it and all of that other fun stuff. So that is what I do on Fridays. I basically make sure that everything was allotted correctly, that I have enough money in all of my accounts in order to pay all of the bills that are coming out. I make sure that I have paid all the bills that are coming out that I know should be coming out this week. So everything that I do, as I mentioned in that episode, is automatic. But even when it's automatic, when it comes to your finances and your bills and all of that stuff, you still kind of want to keep an eye on it, because I know for my bank personally, if I, for whatever reason, screw up and I don't have enough money in what I consider my bills account, where all of my bills come out of, if accidentally something didn't get transferred into that account and I don't have enough money to cover a bill that's coming out of the account, I have overdraft in there as like an automatic protection and all that stuff. But if for whatever, this has never happened, but if it was to happen and I miss a payment, then automatically my automatic payments will shut off. So I won't necessarily even notice that I missed a payment until the bank starts calling me and saying I missed a payment. And then I have to go back and I look and I go, oh crap, now it's like my automatic payment is even turned off. So that is something that I make sure that I'm constantly keeping track of, because it's the worst feeling in the world to think that everything's automated and think that your bills are being paid, and then find out that actually, no, you missed a couple and now you're not necessarily behind, but you gotta do some work to get things back in order. So that is why I have a whole day set aside for finances, just to make sure that I'm looking after everything. I want to make sure that my bills are being paid as they should be, that the money's coming in as it should, that everything is being transferred as it should, and basically just kind of gives me a health check in my finance department. And it's something that I enjoy doing, so I don't mind doing it on a Friday, a day that I have kind of allotted as a non-work day. And then Saturdays, I do nothing. Saturdays are a day off. Saturdays are a do not open my computer day, if at all possible. And yeah, Saturdays are just basically a day off. I've got nothing planned on those days. And then Sundays, that is my planning day. As I mentioned in last week's episode, I sit down and I plan and I make sure that I just kind of review everything on Sundays so that the rest of my week is set up for ultimate success. And then I'm not forgetting to do something. And also, another thing that I can do on Sundays is realize that if I have Wednesdays scratched off in my calendar, then maybe I should plan to write a couple things on maybe a different day of the week and make sure that I allot that day's tasks to another day in the week, or possibly move that to Saturday, or I could just start writing that day. So just as Wednesday as an example. So Sundays are kind of my catch-up day, my planning day, make sure that everything still looks good day, and just kind of is a nice day to kind of review everything. So that's it. That is how I run my business. That is how a typical week looks like in my business. I have a recording day on Mondays, social media day on Tuesdays, writing day on Wednesdays, website and tech day on Thursdays, finance day on Fridays, absolutely nothing day on Saturday, and then my planning day on Sundays. Now, I wasn't too sure if I wanted to get into this or not, but seeing as we're here and I'm trying to give you a real glimpse at everything that I do, I wanted to also touch on the fact that each day I have a very structured day as well. So in the morning, I have a morning ritual that I go through, and that's a personal morning ritual, so it has nothing to do with business. And then when I start my work day, I have a workday startup ritual. And this is something that I have adopted from Michael Hyatt's Full Focus Planner and all of the planning that he does. So I will link to that in the show notes for you guys. But I also use a Full Focus Planner from Michael Hyatt, and I love it. This is where I got my 3 big tasks and all all of that stuff that I use is all from him. And he is really, really great and keeps you motivated. But he encourages that you have a morning ritual every day where you wake up, do your things that you do every morning to basically get yourself ready for work. And then I do a thing called a workday startup ritual. And that is how I've got time allotted for each little thing that I want to do to start my workday. So I obviously make a tea. I look at my daily big three and my schedule. I double check that I have appointments that day. I look at what time they are. Then I kind of allot my day to make sure that I get my big three things done during times when I don't have appointments. I look at other tasks that I need to do. I look at my daily sales and make sure that I've got money coming in. I take a look at my list and make sure that I've got list building happening and growth happening in my business. I check in on my membership, make sure that the members are happy and everything is going well. I've got my business checkup where I just kind of take a look and make sure that everything is running smoothly in my business. I check email, I check in with my team, and then I start my day. It's like officially start my work day. So all of that kind of happens before I actually start working, but it's something that I have to do in order to make sure that I'm keeping myself on task and that I'm getting all of these things done and I don't miss something. Because the worst thing is that if you sit down, you get in a groove for whatever day it is that I'm doing and whatever task that I'm doing, but you get in a groove and then all of a sudden you get a calendar alert that says you have an appointment that you totally forgot about. So it's something that I have to do at the beginning of every day just to make sure that I'm on the same page and that I'm getting everything done that needs to be done. So then during my workday, I have certain things that I have to get done. As you know, I've got my 3 big tasks that I need to get done. And then I also have 3 big social media posts that I have to be making. And the reason why I put those on my calendar is that I am horrendous with posting on social media. I forget to do it. And that is why I have a whole day dedicated towards social media where I go in and schedule posts. But these 3 posts are things that happen organically throughout my day. So these are not planned things. These are not part of my Tuesday planning where I would plan out social media. These are things that I just have to post about what I am currently doing, what I'm working on in my business, and basically kind of things that are actually happening in real time and not necessarily something that I want to strategically share. This is just kind of giving you a glimpse at behind the scenes. So those are my 3 big main social media posts that I have to do each day, or I try to do each day. Then I'm always making sure I'm working on list building. That is a huge thing that I am focused on for this year. And then I make sure that I am always working on a course as well. And then I'm always working on content. And then I'm always keeping an eye on my finances. So those are 4 things: list building, course, content, and finances that I do check in on each day, regardless of the day. But it's not something that I will necessarily work on. It's just kind of a quick check-in and make sure things are still functioning as they need to. And when I put something down like list building, it's not necessarily even checking in and making sure that my list is growing. It might just be do a quick post in order to grow my list or something like that, where I'm just taking action forward on those 4 tasks. So then I have this thing at the end of my workday. So my workday can be as long or as short as it needs to be. And obviously I have client work in there too, but this is specifically what I work on a day-to-day basis in my own business. So on top of all of this, I'm still doing client work as well. So that is why my workday doesn't have any times associated with it. It's literally just make sure that I do my big my big first task, a social media post, a big second task, a social media post, a big third task, a social media post, and then my 4 list building, course, content, finances, and things that I need to work on there. And obviously I'm doing client work sometimes throughout that, but usually I will then start client work after I've done all that stuff. So usually all of this stuff is done fairly early in the morning, and then I start working on my client work. So do not be worried. I have not forgot about my clients. I still work for them as well, but for the sake of this episode, I'm just basically letting you know what I do for my business on a day-to-day basis. So after that is all done and I am finished my work day, after client work as well, then I have this thing called a workday shutdown ritual. And what I do there is basically the same things that I do to start my day, but I'm wrapping it up. So I will do a team check-in, make sure that my team did everything that they said they were going to be doing throughout their day. I will check my email. As I said, I only check my email 2 times a day. I check it in the morning and I check it at the end of my day. So I make sure that my inbox is generally always back to 0 before I shut my computer. Then I make sure that I completed my big 3 and I look at my schedule, make sure that everything else is fine for the rest of my day, make sure that all my appointments were done. I check on other tasks that needed to be finished. I check in on my membership. Usually at the end of each day too, I will make sure that I do a brain dump, and just so that I kind of release anything that I may have been like trying to remember throughout the day. So I make sure that I brain dump, I put things where they need to go. If I've got things that happened throughout the day that inspired me to add to some of my lists somewhere, then I want to make sure that I get that down on paper. I also check my calendar, I check my tasks, I check my back burner list, which is the list of all of the things that I always want to be doing in my business, but know that I can't do everything all at once. So if I've got something that I need to add to my back burner list, then I will definitely do that. And then I shut my computer and stop my workday. And then for a personal note, I also have an evening ritual as well. And this is something that Michael Hyatt talks about in his planning and his planner itself and the trainings that he does with that. But he basically says that you should have a morning ritual where you get yourself ready for your day, and then have a work day ritual so that you get started for your work day, and then shut down your work day with the work day shutdown ritual, and then have an evening ritual where you shut down yourself so that you can rest for the next day. So I'm not going to go over what I do in my evening ritual or my morning ritual. Those are completely separate. If you do want to know, shoot me an email and I will happily share that with you, or I will possibly record an episode and give you a better look at my personal day-to-day life. But this episode is basically just about what I do in my business on a day-to-day basis. So that's it. It seems like a lot, but it's sometimes a lot and sometimes not a lot that I do on a day-to-day basis. But it's something that I wanted to share with you guys just to give you a glimpse at what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, why I do it the way that I do it, give you a little bit of a glimpse as to why I think it makes sense and why I feel that this is the best way for me to personally run my business. And I just kind of wanted to give you guys an idea of what I do so that, hey, if you want to try it yourself, then by all means, go ahead, give it a shot. Let me know how it works. As always, you can reach me at flow@flowautomationinc.com and I will respond back to you. And if you want any of our other planning resources or anything like that, please check out the show notes page. Right down at the very bottom, we have the ability for you to take a look at all of our resources that we have available for you. So until next week, I hope that you are having a great time in your business and that you are always making positive action forward, and that you are focusing on your own business and your business growth. And next week, I will be back and we are going to be talking about creating additional income streams and how you can do that. So I hope to see you guys next week. And until then, enjoy your business and your life.
Thanks for listening to the Greater Than Business podcast at www.greaterthanbusiness.com.